The college football experience, Wyoming Cowboys 2024 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times the amount you enter with their brand new Pick 8 sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Yes, they do have college football action. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Yes, get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. And remember, as always, folks, too, let it ride.
Hey, everybody. Joe Theismann here. You're listening to SGPN. So do this. Let it ride.
Football experience, Wyoming Cowboys 2024 season preview episode. Look, I love talking cowboy football when it's Wyoming. Not Dallas.
not Dallas.
Not Dallas. When it's Wyoming, I love talking Wyoming Cowboy football.
If we were saying fuck the Cowboys, we're not talking about Wyoming.
Or Oklahoma State gets a pass too, and McNeese State gets a pass. So. Yeah, it's strictly we actually like majority of the Cowboys, just not the Dallas Cowboys. Yes. I would argue this is more of America's team. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, my name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick, this is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. I would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
Yes. We were in Laramie last season for the magical win against the Appalachian State Mountaineers. You don't go to Laramie expecting to get a dub, all right? It's one of the, I think, EA Sports just released their top 25 for the NCAA football 2025 game. Top 25 hardest places to play. And I laughed at the fact they did not have Wyoming there with their history of taking down power schools. Pretty much every power school that's scheduled a game since like 1990 there has taken an L. I think one time A&M escaped with a 3-point win, right? And maybe the Ducks got them once with a really good Chip Kelly team. But I'm excited to talk because I consider myself a big Wyoming fan. I am joined by my co-host. He was with me in Laramie. We had a damn good time. Give it up for the DFS god himself. The rooftop IPA drinking, home brew making, tobacco road living, the free lock giving, former Herndon Basketball League MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. What's going on, man?
I love Wyoming football. That's what's going on. YouTube.com/The College Experience. Get on over there. Hit that like and subscribe button. Remember, we're breaking out all 134 college football teams with the solo podcast. 1 hour dedicated to every single team in the land, just like we do each and every year. But I'm doing good, man. Especially because I consider myself. Wyoming is one of the teams I really root for in college football. I don't have that many teams anymore. I feel like at one point I had a lot, but I feel like if I got it down to 10 teams, Wyoming's on that list. How about you?
I kind of agree. And, I just did a quick little video of my top 5 favorite uniforms in the G5. Wyoming made the list. everything about the Wyoming Cowboys is cool. I mean, the uniforms kind of match like an old West feel.
Yeah.
Just their stadium is really cool.
Great logo.
Yeah, great logo. And I mean, look, they struggle bringing in talent in there because if it's such a small town, it's like a town of 30,000. There's really no local talent in the state of Wyoming. So they've had their challenges, but they play a brand of football. Defense first, run heavy. They're very unique, and I think their uniqueness makes them cool.
That's what makes college football cool too. As much as someone wants to say, look, we love college football, but like having Wyoming there, I just had an interview with Dan Wetzel from Yahoo Sports, who wrote the book Death of the BCS and wrote a book about Jerry Tarkanian, and we were talking college football. And, just in general, he's like, what makes it great is it's 134 teams for one prize. And there's religious schools, there's private schools with no enrollment, there's teams out in the middle of nowhere, whether it's the desert,
like Wyoming,
whether it's the mountains. And that's what makes college football so awesome. And if they ever try to veer off that path, that's a negative for the sport. So,
and we've also mentioned this too, like the not having like a commissioner for all of college football is a blessing and a curse.
Yeah,
because there's some things where if like college football could just organize and work together, they could really improve upon some things. But also, then it would become maybe more to like NFL, it would become more streamlined. Everything would be more of the same. Keeping it where there's no person in charge, it's really just conferences and stuff. That kind of keeps the uniqueness of it also.
Yes, and a 12-team playoff is starting this season, and we think we don't have any proof of this yet because there's always been a East Coast bias, but we think the Mountain West champ will have the leg up on the other conferences.
It depends. I mean, that champ can't be 8-4. Now we all know that the Mountain West is the best G5 conference, but it's also that also means it's the toughest. It's the toughest to go, undefeated within the conference. It's tough to win the conference championship game. So while it's the best conference, it's the deepest. That doesn't necessarily mean the person who gets the G5 bid is going to come from the Mountain West.
I wonder what that threshold though is on the law. Like, because if you're playing, they have 3 Power 5s in the non-con right now, right? And that would be like, so let's say they went 9-3. And I know we're going to go game by game on the schedule, but I'm not even saying Wyoming. The Mountain West champs, they went 9-3. With the 3 losses to Power 5s, or maybe 2 losses to a Power 5 or 1 to a Mountain West team, I wonder if that still beats out an undefeated Conference USA team.
That's going to be fascinating to see this year. We don't know what the college football playoff committee is going to do. And this is the first year of it. So we have no history to rely on. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah. Look, folks, we're going to break down the offense, defense, special teams, the entire schedule. But before we do that, I want to tell you right now, you are listening to the College Football Experience. Subscribe, tell a friend, and make sure you check out, we're part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, and the Sports Gambling Podcast has you got to check them out because they've just started releasing their top 10 fantasy football preview series. The quarterbacks and tight ends episodes are already live. It's never too early for the National Football League. All right, back, and let's jump into this because it is a transitional year too. Craig Bohl had built this thing up. Now you can go back a ways. Joe Tiller had a great run here, but Craig Bohl certainly brought it back to what it should be. Great defense, great special teams, as we saw against Appalachian State. But now he retires. I got a chance to meet Craig Bohl, interview him last year. I thought he was, I was a big fan of his coaching. He was a longtime Tom Osborne assistant, and I thought he was a fantastic coach. And
he also just had, you could argue, his most successful year at Wyoming, the first time he's ever won 9 games in a season.
Yes, and his DC is where it was last year, Jay Sawvel, over the past few years, and they've had a great defense. He is now the new head coach, and I got slides here and everything. YouTube.com/the college experience. Jay Sawvel taking over, but boy, his coaching tree is fantastic. So Jay Sawvel obviously spent a few years under Craig Bohl. Prior to that, he was with Dave Clawson. Prior to that, he was with Jerry Kill for like a decade with Jerry Kill. Before that, Lou Holtz and Bob Davey. I mean, that's quite the resume that he's bringing, into a first year coaching job, head coaching job. What's your thoughts on Jay Sawvel taking over?
Well, it's kind of a mystery. I mean, he's 53 years old, and this is his first time ever as being the head coach. Sure, he's coached under a lot of good head coaches. That doesn't necessarily make him definitely say he's going to be a good head coach himself. The good thing is that he has experience at Wyoming. I mentioned before, Wyoming it's hard to bring in top-notch talent. So he knows what it takes to do more with less. And the fact that, they're not changing a system, they're not bringing in a completely new guy, that they don't have that much roster turnover because they're staying in-house. I think it sets up for success early. The question will be, is how will he be as a head coach? That's the mystery. I don't think anybody can answer that because we don't know.
Yeah, and coach's son, Craig Bohl, Aaron Bohl, the new defensive coordinator. So keeping it family. I love it. All right.
You kind of wonder if it was like, look, we'll make you head coach here, but only if you keep my son as DC.
Well, I believe he was the linebacker coach for the past 5 years. So I mean,
yeah, and it makes sense for Wyoming to have a defensive-minded head coach because that's really their bread and butter, right?
Yes, and I really believe they have one of the best home field advantages in all of college football. It's the highest elevation in the nation. And their track record speaks for itself. Since the big game Cowboys here, youtube.com/the college experience. I have a sweet graphic. This is a team that has pretty much gone toe to toe with anybody. And not only that, great road wins too. They ended up sweeping Ole Miss in a home and home, and that was like in 2008 or 9. That was not in the 90s when Ole Miss was complete ass. This is, if you look at this right now, they have wins at Washington State. They've beaten Utah 5 times since 1990. And one of those, I believe, wins when they joined the pack. Texas Tech has came to Laramie twice since 1990. They lost both. Louisville, home and home, lost both. TCU has taken 2 L's. Oklahoma State went to Laramie. Big mistake. Missouri just the other year went to Laramie. Big mistake. Iowa State, home and home, got swept. SMU says, yeah, we got a lot of money. We'll go up to Laramie. No, you got whooped. BYU back on the schedule. All right. Excited for that matchup this year, but they've lost several games as well. Virginia, the Wahoos. Now the Wahoos did beat Wyoming 13-12 in Charlottesville, but they got whooped. And this was like an 8-win Virginia team with Chris Long and stuff. When they went to Laramie, like by 20 points. UCLA has multiple losses as well to Wyoming. There's something about this place. I've heard several people mention this, that they think this is one of the harder places to win in all the group of 5, let alone compared to some Power 5.
It's very impressive. And there's something magical about Laramie. And if you're a P4 team, why the hell would you want to go there? Given this list of wins they have there and just how difficult it is to come out with a victory. The game we went to last year was App State at Wyoming. App State was up 19-7 in the 4th quarter. And to that point, I mean, Wyoming's offense did not do much at all. We didn't think there was any way they could win that game. And then Harrison Waylee breaks off a 75-yard run to close the gap to 5. And then the blocked field goal return for a touchdown under 2 minutes to go. I mean, they have a way of just pulling shit out of their ass and getting victories even before that last year, the Texas Tech game.
Down 17-0 in the first quarter.
Yeah. So why would anybody want to go there? I mean, I do hope, P4 teams still go to Laramie because they're prime for an upset. Always go with the home dog at Wyoming, but I wouldn't be surprised if teams stop doing that.
Can you imagine? Like, I'm expecting them to expand the 12-team playoff rather rapidly. The more previews I do, I realize that I think it's hilarious that before you were leaving out the little fan base like UCF or something that hadn't been around that long. It's a big fan base now, and with their enrollment, but I'm saying like they didn't have a history. judging by these previews I've been doing, you know, I really believe you're going to have major fan bases left out, which has never happened really before. Like, well,
Right.
and I think it's going to be, they're going to expand right away. So can you imagine if they hosted a playoff game in Laramie?
Well, making the playoffs and hosting a playoff game is two entirely different things. I don't know if I see that happening anytime soon. It'll be hard enough just to get there. But look, there's a way that Wyoming can win the Mountain West, and that'll give them a shot to at least make it. Now, I'm not going to go as far as to say they're going to host a game there, but that'd be really cool if they just made it.
And look, last year Texas made the playoff, right? Wyoming had a backup quarterback who's now their starter this year, Evan Svoboda, who I'm excited about. I was really impressed by this performance. At Texas, it was 10-10 in the fourth quarter. Don't get it twisted. The final score was 31-10.
Right.
There was a pick six by the backup by Svoboda. So Texas took a 17-10 lead. Then there was a pick six that made it 24-10, and then in garbage time they scored another touchdown. So this thing, I was super impressed by that. The offense, let's talk about this. They were 78th in scoring offense last season at 25.3 yards per game, or points per game. That was 9th best in the Mountain West, 103rd in yards, 10th best in the Mountain West, 115th in passing, 11th best in the Mountain West, 63rd in rushing, 7th best in the Mountain West. It's pretty shocking that they won that many games with an offense like this, right?
Yeah, but that's Wyoming football. You know, when have they had, an exciting, explosive offense?
You probably got to go to
Josh Allen
days. Yeah. Or not even with Josh Allen. I would say you got to go to like the Joe Tiller days.
And that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So look, this is the way they win football games. Another great thing about college football is that there's a variety of ways teams can find success. Wyoming knows that they need, strong line play and a strong defense.
Great special teams too. They always have great special teams.
So I'm not shocked to see these stats, but I mean, I think if you're a Wyoming fan, you want to see some improvement on the offensive side this year. That'll just make it a lot easier to win games more comfortably.
Yeah, and you look at what they bring back. I think it's Svoboda was impressive, man. I thought he was very impressive.
I mean, as a true freshman, for your first start ever is at Texas. Yeah. He didn't light it up. He didn't play great, but just the fact that he had enough, moxie to go in there and at least perform
10-10 in the fourth.
Yeah, perform adequately. I think Andrew Peasley will be missed, but it sure looks like Svoboda is going to be able to carry that torch and just be a solid quarterback.
He came in several games, and if anything, I think the guy's got an NFL future, perhaps. Like I really think Craig Bohl, even though his offenses haven't been dynamic, he knows it. Look, go back to him at North Dakota State. He gets guys to the NFL, and Svoboda was impressive to me. Like there were points I thought where he looked better than Peasley.
I didn't see enough of him to make a big statement like future NFL quarterback maybe, but look, he's a sophomore, so he's going to be there for 3 more years. If he can improve each and every year, then who knows? Obviously, Josh Allen worked out pretty well for the Bills. Not trying to compare the two, but I just think that they're in pretty good hands. And I guess the good thing with Peasley's injuries last year is that Svoboda was able to get his feet wet. He has, a start under his belt. He has playing time under his belt. So I think that bodes well for a pretty good sophomore campaign.
Yeah. And by the way, shout out to the chat. Remember, you can hop on over here and talk in the chat. Robert Martin said, pick Dundee to find a lawn chair quarterback. A lawn chair quarterback is one that, Evan Svoboda is not a lawn chair quarterback. Andrew Peasley is not a lawn chair quarterback, but it's to me someone that has been kind of I actually wrote an article on this at sportsgamblingpodcast.com. You can look it up because I think it might be better than on the fly, but like the quarterback has been so protected that you no longer have to be athletic to play quarterback.
Basically just no mobility.
Yeah. And just, are you even a football player? Like,
are you tough?
Like I went down a rabbit. You can still be a very effective player. Sure. Like I would argue Peyton Manning's a lawn chair, right? He's the best lawn chair probably ever. But, if you go down, there's a rabbit hole of like he throws a pick or pick six or something, and he gives a pretty lame effort to trying to tackle. And that's not what the sport was designed to be. You know what I mean? Like when Sammy Ball was playing quarterback, he's going to knock you out if he throws a pick. He's going to go try to, he's a football player. So to me, that's lawn chair quarterback is someone that's super athletic, that the rules have protected, and now you just have, a slew of them over the past, and it started in probably the 70s, but 60s or 70s. But there's a bunch of them anyway. But back to Svoboda, he's not a lawn chair, and he's a very to me he's an exciting quarterback. 7 starters are back. Harrison Waylee, who came over from Northern Illinois, big fan of his game.
I think he's the best running back in the Mountain West, not named Ashton Genty.
Ooh, I see you saved yourself there. I was like, where are you going?
Genty is better. But Whaley's not too far off. I think he had he ran for over 100 yards against Texas last year.
Yeah, he's a player. And look, Tyler King back at the wide receiver spot. And here's what I love. They got 4 starters back on the offensive line. I mean, this is what I'm talking. And that's what I think maybe, because if you look at the year before, their rushing stats were better, like within the Mountain West and with just overall better. The fact you bring back 4 starters on the offensive line, last year they were starting 2 underclassmen. So now they become juniors and mixed with some seniors here. I really like the offense here. And I also think they did, we'll talk portal. They lost some guys, but they added DJ Jones. This is a guy from North Carolina. North Carolina's running back rooms have been phenomenal lately, by the way.
Actually, so it's been so deep at UNC that they moved him to safety last year. I think he said, no, thanks. I don't want to play safety. I'm a running back. And that's why he transferred out. But I like the addition that provides, great depth behind Whaley.
Well, and when you look at what he did in the spring game, he had 12 carries, 77 yards and a touchdown in the spring game. I am optimistic. And then Tyler King coming in from Texas Tech. So they did go out and get a couple guys in the portal that I think that they also brought in a kid from Holy Cross that I forgot to throw up on here. But I know they don't use the portal much, but damn, I think these can be effective players this season.
Yeah, I think both those guys can. King did not play last year, but he played the year before at Texas Tech, had a handful of catches. Offensively, I mean, the biggest question mark is receiver. They lose 4 of their top 5 pass catchers from a year ago, but it wasn't like they were a prolific passing team last year. So I think if you're going to lose players, you might as well have them at wideout. The quarterback I think is going to be fine. The offensive line is going to be one of the best in the Mountain West. The running game is going to be great. So you can, there's a couple, receivers. Tyler King steps in. They have a true freshman, Chris Durr, who had 12 catches in the spring game. Maybe he starts right away. I don't know. They do have a really good tight end too, John Michael Gyllenborg.
Great name.
Yeah. So I think this offense has the chance to improve on those numbers you showed from last year.
And someone else, Alex Brown, who did get some starts. So it depends how you like nowadays when you see he started a few games there, a wideout for Wyoming. He's back. They also brought in this kid from Vanderbilt that I missed on Devin Bodie. Hey, it's Point Break over here, Bodie. But them, and then I know they're excited about Jalen Sargent as well. So I don't worry about. To me, for almost every team in the nation, I don't really worry about wide receivers unless they're awful. But like, they don't mean that much to me. Like line of scrimmage.
I think that's especially true at Wyoming, who's not looking to pass for 300 yards a game either. Talk about the line of scrimmage. Even though I think the offensive line will be fine. I mean, first team Mountain West left tackle Frank Crum will be missed. But he's the only person they have to replace. Granted, left tackle is probably the most important position on the offensive line, but I trust Wyoming to field a good line and for somebody to step up and, be at least adequate at left tackle.
Yeah. And Josh Allen, going back to the Svoboda comparison here. So Josh Allen is 6'5", 240, right? Svoboda, 6'5", 245.
Jeez.
And
it's a big man.
And he elected to wear Josh Allen's number. That's bold. He said, "No, I want that number. Come here to do things." In the portal, they did lose a couple of guys, but DQ James is really the only one that stands out. But he got kicked off the team like mid-season, I thought, last year. I don't know what essentially happened there, but yeah, I'm okay with this. Chase Lock leaves. I mean, they lose a couple of FCS guys, but this doesn't mean anything really to me besides DQ James.
I think this is huge because we've seen in the past Wyoming lose some of their best offensive players, especially some playmakers like Valladay, the running back who went to Arizona State, Nayer, the receiver who went to Texas. USC plucked one of their best offensive linemen a couple years ago. I want to go out on a limb and say Wyoming doesn't have the best NIL collective. They should though. They're the only team in the state. Yeah. You're going up there seeing Yellowstone Park, damn it. That should trickle down to the NIL collective. All right. Yeah. For every visitor, like a portion of those dollars should go to the Wyoming NIL collective. But look, they always have, their recruiting classes are always on the back half of the Mountain West. And they usually don't bring in a ton of people in the portal. So the fact that they can keep most of their roster, they lost a couple guys on defense who are more important than these offensive losses. But in general, they kept most of the roster intact other than players that graduated. I think that's huge for this coming season. Yeah. Look, folks, I want to tell you, we're going to talk defense in a second, but I want to tell you the Wyoming Cowboys season previews brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Pick 8's now live. Create entries up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex entries so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry with more picks to make and extra ways to win. The excitement is higher than ever. And the best part is you can win up to 325 times your original amount. You can now use specials and boost on all flexed entries. I can't wait to make a pick 8. So don't miss your chance to try it out before it's gone. Plus, if you're already a user, deposit between now and UFC 303 for a 10% bonus in cash. Also, look, sign up. You're going to love this thing. They got college football action. I'm playing CFL action right now in the dog days of summer. So sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. Yes, Circa Sports is back with the Circa Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. And the Wyoming Cowboys will know about Circa because they'll be there at Mountain West Media Day with myself in just 2 weeks here. But yes, the best thing about Circa and their contest is they have no rake. All right, Circa Millions, you pick 5 NFL teams ATS each week and compete for $6 million, or you can survive the NFL gauntlet and claim the $10 million prize. Sign up in person at Circa between now and September 7th and use a proxy from anywhere. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com to save you $50 with the promo code SGP. So check that out. Don't have a trip planned for Vegas yet before football season? What are you doing? The ultimate contest weekend is a great time to go out. And if you do, you can hang out with my pals Stacking the Money Green and Ryan Real Money Kramer and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sportsbook in the world, August 22nd through August 24th. And shout out to David Matola saying the beers are delicious at Circa. Yeah, something they got in the recipe there. And Robert, shout out to Robert in the chat saying, as a fan of a G5 team and with the playoff spot now available, I find myself consuming more G5 content to size up the competition outside of the AAC. Keep the vids coming. Appreciate you, Robert. And look, I'm the same way. I'm a ECU fan, and I can't wait. I think the season becomes so much more meaningful because of this 12-team playoff. Would you agree, NC Nick? I would agree. And by the way, there's a lot of really good football at the G5 level, especially with all the major conferences just trying to ruin college football completely. Maybe everybody should pay more attention to G5 football because it's fantastic. Teams like Wyoming, what more do you want? Yeah, exactly. And I can tell you, if you love defensive football, you're going to love watching the Wyoming Cowboys because they're top 40 in the nation last year. Scoring defense, 22.3 points per game. That was second best in the Mountain West. Only Air Force beats them because Air Force can run the triple option and teams have 3 possessions the entire game. But 47th in yards, third best in the Mountain West. 47th overall in passing defense, fourth best in the Mountain West. 49th in rush defense, third best in the Mountain West. And I actually think those
numbers are slightly diluted because they played Texas, which is the best offensive line, or one of the best offensive lines in the nation last year, compared to some of the other Mountain West teams that say did not play Texas. So I actually tend to think their rush defense probably even better than the numbers say.
I mean,
What-
four of their last 5 games, only one opponent scored more than 15 points.
Yeah.
Wyoming's defense was very good a season ago. Now their DC is the head coach. A decent amount of that production returns. There's no reason why Wyoming isn't going to be maybe the best defense in the Mountain West. Boise might have something to say about that. A couple other schools might be in the mix, but Wyoming's defense is going to be definitely towards the top of the conference.
How do you feel about that logo coming back potentially?
Oh, dude, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
Come on,
that's a great logo there. YouTube.com/the college experience. Look, I'm going to dive deeper into that, but I want to tell you that the college football experience also brought to you by Rhythm. If you're betting on player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm is the go-to sports betting tool that transforms complex data into actionable insights, empowering bettors with smarter, data-driven decisions. Unlike other platforms, Rhythm combines advanced predictive analytics with an intuitive user experience, making betting both easy and enjoyable. Rhythm's predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists and quants with over 3 years of data that help drive you to better AI-backed betting decisions. So check it out. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. Back on the college football experience, talking Wyoming Cowboys and defensive additions. They didn't need. We don't need your stinking portal. All right.
I love it. The portal isn't the most important thing to every team in the nation. Again, differences. This is an Ole Miss here. Some teams embrace the portal. They bring in 20 to 30 guys, every year, and some teams don't. So you got to love the differences.
Yeah, and look, you also got to love when Shea Suasanoa uses his extra year of eligibility from COVID to come back at the middle linebacker spot. I
was hoping that you would try to pronounce that name before I was.
7 starters back on the defense, 3 back on the defensive line, 2 back in the linebacking core, and they are experienced. Also, both safeties back. They are breaking in new corners, which I would say if you're going to bring up concern, although that's not entirely true because Davis got a few starts for them at the corner spot last season. They also bring back their star kicker, John Hoyland. So there's things to like here. The defensive line, I think, is going to be pretty damn good.
Yeah, the only person not returning is Gavin Meyer, the nose tackle that transferred to USC. So USC has plucked a lineman 2 years in a row from Wyoming. 2 years ago was the offensive line. This year is the defensive line. But they're one of the top defensive lines in the Mountain West. I mean, if you look at Phil Steele's unit rankings, he has Wyoming as the second best D line, only behind Boise. They're going to be fine. That's why you got to be high on the Cowboys this year, is the offensive line and the defensive line.
Yeah, and they return a lot of key pieces now in the portal. They did lose a couple guys. You talked about Gavin Meyer going to USC. Also, Brady Holtman going to the Missouri Tigers at the linebacker spot, and also Colby Taylor in the corner spot going to Vanderbilt. So the SEC coming in there, getting their hands on a couple Cowboys, and then USC as well. Those are a little bit. I mean, they're noteworthy losses.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Holtman. He did not register any tackles last year. I don't know if he was hurt or what. I know Gavin Meyer was an impact player, and Colby Taylor will be missed. He's one of the cornerbacks that they have to find a replacement for. So overall, though, that's pretty good for Wyoming because, like I was saying earlier, I mean, they've lost some players in the portal pretty much every year. I don't think they can compete with some of the teams like, USC or a SEC school as far as money. So they paid for some of these players, but overall, I think Wyoming kept most of their roster intact. They did lose leading tackler and first team Mountain West linebacker Easton Gibbs to graduation. He will be missed, but 5 years in a row, Wyoming has now had a first team Mountain West linebacker. And the guy you mentioned earlier, I think will be this year, the sixth straight, Sinda Nowoa.
Yeah. I mean, I love the fact he decided to come back. It should be noted also that, they've had a great they've done a great job of developing those guys. Logan Wilson and what was it? Muma, I think it is. His last name was. Those guys are in the NFL. So not only has Craig Bohl done a great job producing All-American linebackers, there's a path to the NFL there, and I think that for recruiting wise, you say, hey, do you want to come? We can get you to the NFL if you come here. So. Hey, he's doing it right now.
All those guys, it's not like they were 4 or 5 stars. You know, some of those guys might have been 3 stars, if not lower than that. So do more with less.
Yeah, and Robert Didrich says impressive that they retained their defensive players in this era of NIL. Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping is the culture always is a winner there. You know, like it seems like it's a winner there. I know it's a small town. You know, if you go there, you'll be kind of blown away with how small of a town it is. But there's not, to me, it's one of the best stadiums in college football. And now you have a culture of winning. And they're the only show in town in the whole state. I hope long term, and especially with the potential of making the playoff, maybe the NIL would be able to step up because they're the only team in town.
I think in general, though, as we drove around a lot of southern Wyoming, you know, it's not necessarily the most thriving area in the country.
Yeah, but I'm sure the Californians will come in and ruin it. Don't worry about it. I hope it doesn't. But anyway, let's talk about. So yeah, we talked about what they lost. The win total is sitting at 6.5. Now it is juiced to the over. No, it's it's juiced to the under. Minus 120 to the under, plus 100 to the over. To win the Mountain West Championship, plus 1,200 though. Don't have 12-team playoff odds, although I'm told that every team will have 12-team playoff odds in the coming month. So keep an eye out for that. Shout out to James in the chat. He goes 7-5 is the best I can give you. And James, I'm a Californian too right now. So I mean, hey, what any of those stand out to you just from the start?
Well, last year they won 8 regular season games. The year before that they won 7. They do have a brand new head coach and a new quarterback, so I could see why that over/under dips down a little bit. I think my play right off the bat would maybe just be the over on wins. I don't think they're going to win the Mountain West. I think they're a top half, maybe a top 3 or 4 team. But I really like Boise this year. I don't think Wyoming with a brand new quarterback, a brand new coach is good enough to win the conference. So I'm probably looking at just an overplay, at least on the surface.
It's funny you say that because Boise's got a brand new coach and a brand new quarterback.
Fair. Now that Danielson coached at least a handful of games last year, but good point.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's worth taking a shot on the Mountain West Championship if you're a Wyoming fan, because I do believe you're building to this. And I don't know about you.
Tell me when they last won a Mountain West national champion. Mountain West
I don't think they have. I don't think they have won.
That's
because,
my point.
But I'll say this: I'm intrigued about the Sawvel hire. He spent a lot of time with Dave Clawson, and I wonder if he hired Jay Johnson as the OC. Jay Johnson had some pretty good offenses at Michigan State before that Mel Tucker stuff went down. Peyton Thorne, he threw like 30 touchdowns one year. I wonder if they can get a little offensive ball going and be complete, or be a little bit more complete as a team, a little more balanced. But I think the path could be there. Let's jump into the schedule here. And if you're wondering what the number is on the right, I power rank the most important games of the season. And I think it's worth noting that last year's non-con, Nick, when they won 9, was Texas Tech home to Texas Tech, at Texas, and home to Appalachian State, right?
That's pretty tough.
I think this non-con comparing that to at Arizona State, home to BYU, and at Washington State, I think it's much easier from the non-con perspective.
Well, they have 5 non-con now, right? Did you forget who did you forget? Idaho or North Texas?
Yeah, well, that's true. Idaho and North Texas. I will say Idaho is a much better FCS than Portland State, but North Texas compared to however is to me it's a big difference. But
for sure. I mean, the good thing is that all 5 of those non-con games are winnable. Now,
Yes.
3 of them are on the road, which is tough. But I think Wyoming is going to at least go 2-3. I wouldn't be surprised if they go 3-2 and knock off either Arizona State or Wazoo on the road.
Yes, and David Matola saying lock up the alt line. Wyoming minus 10.5 in week 1. Lock it up in
Dave,
Tempe.
whoa, I don't know about that, man.
Alt line. He's a Wildcat fan though, so I know he's throwing shade at the Sun Devils.
I got you.
Yeah.
I know Wyoming can win that game. I'm not saying they will, but if they win it, I might be surprised if they win it by double digits. I mean, we're talking Wyoming football here. They usually don't win by that wide of a margin.
But dude, last year's schedule was much harder also within conference. I know we're going to go game by game in a second. They had to go to Boise, Smurf turf, right?
Right.
They had to go to Air Force, right? They had to go to UNLV, who ended up being hot. Now they did host Fresno, but there's no Fresno or UNLV on the schedule. They get Boise and Air Force coming to Laramie. It's a much better schedule in my opinion.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's jump into week 1. They do head to Tempe, Arizona to take on them Sun Devils. And I do think they're a better football team than Arizona State right now. I think now the desert can be sneaky. It can be a sneaky tough, the fake tits will be bouncing down there in Tempe. Right. But, I think Wyoming's more complete right now. I'm going to take Wyoming to win in Tempe. You?
I think I'm going to take the Sun Devils, actually. I think between Arizona and BYU, I think Wyoming only wins one of those. And Wyoming is so much better at home. I have them losing this game, but upsetting BYU at home a couple weeks later.
Okay, well, this is a dangerous game. The Idaho Vandals are a good FCS playoff team. Now, they kind of got raided in the portal. We'll see how they can bounce back from that. But I got them 2-0 out the gate. You?
I definitely have them beating
1-1?
Idaho. So 1-1, yeah.
You have them beating BYU?
I do. I mean, we just said it. The home dog in Laramie, it hits so many times. Not only does it cover a point spread, but Wyoming wins these games straight up. So I'm not going to change that now.
This is an old school rivalry game. I am so glad to see this game back on the schedule. I know BYU I think they played in a bowl game recently and BYU won by 3, but that was not in Laramie. Oh man, this is a great schedule, man. But because this is a winnable game. But I am kind of bullish on BYU. And by the way, they've been playing this game forever. BYU's actually won 9 in a row, believe it or not. But that was because they played before Craig Bohl was there. But they've been playing this for over 100 years. The last time they met, so with Craig Bohl, they're 0-2. They lost the San Diego Poinsettia Bowl 24-21, and they lost in Provo 38-24. But this is the first one in Laramie in a long time. So, oh man, they could be 3-0, dude. Like, you know what?
Yeah,
I'm taking it 3-0.
I'm at 2-1 here because I do have them beating BYU. I think at North Texas is actually kind of tricky
because especially if they beat a rival that hasn't been on the schedule in a long time.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to give them the victory there because I don't think North Texas is very good. But that's a tricky road trip just because it's hard. It's going to be hard to get back up on the road after a big BYU win if that happens.
It is a tricky game. Maybe I'll say they get bit.
They drop that one.
Yeah. Because I'll tell you this. If you go listen to our Air Force preview, it's out. I have Rick Baum on the show, who's covered Air Force football, been affiliated with the program for the past, 16, 17 years. And he's like, Air Force can beat anybody in the Mountain West except Wyoming and Laramie. He's like, he goes, weird things happen. He goes, we were there a few years ago. We had an 11-point lead with 2 minutes left and we lost.
There's magic in Laramie. I'm telling you.
There is. War Memorial.
But why they could drop the road game too is that, again, Wyoming is not the same team on the road as they are at home.
They also play a ton of close games.
Yeah. All of their losses last year came on the road. Now, granted, they only lost to good teams last year. They lost at Texas, at Air Force, at Boise, at UNLV. That's, for 4 losses, that's not bad. So I'm going to have them beating North Texas, but like I said, I think it's dangerous.
I'll say between BYU and North Texas, they get one loss.
I do have them bouncing back and beating Air Force.
I do too. Week. I love them getting Air Force in September. First off, Air Force has struggles in Laramie, but also they're only bringing back, I think, 5 starters as a team. Only 2 on the offensive side of the ball.
Last in the nation in returning production.
They're going to get them. So but that wouldn't shock me if they're 5-0 here.
It's possible.
They get a bye week and they're hosting San Diego State. I do love the Sean Lewis hire at San Diego State. How cold will it be on October 12th? Will it be a little chilly there?
I don't think so, especially though. So we have a time for that also. If it was at night, potentially, but it's 3:30. The sun will be shining. I don't think it'll be that chilly, early October. I have a win though.
I have a win, but that's dangerous. It's a dangerous game because that offense, but and I wonder if that, is something that could be a positive. It seems like a lot of the Mountain West go into very pass happy approaches. Before San Diego State used to be like Wyoming. You're going to get a strong dosage. You're going to get 40 rushes and great special teams and great defense, right? 40 rushes from our running backs. But now they're opening things up. But yeah, I'm with you. I think right now you can make a case that they're going to be either 6-0 or 5-1.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah. I mean, at the midway point in the season, I have them at 5-1 with the over under being 6.5. Now here, the schedule is going to get tougher here coming up. But you got to be happy with that start if you're a Cowboy fan.
Yes. And now they head to San Jose to take on Ken Niumatalolo. I love getting this stretch. They play 3 brand new head coaches out of 4 games. That's a great stretch. I got them winning in San Jose. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the graphic, if you're watching on YouTube, those 3 games are at San Jose, home to Utah State, at New Mexico. I kind of want to give them a loss somewhere in there. And
dude, it's a nice schedule.
It's either at San Jose or at New Mexico. But with that said, Wyoming's probably better than all 3 of those programs right now.
They're going to be favored in all 4 of those, dude.
4 of them. What do you mean?
San Diego State, San Jose State, Utah State.
Oh, okay. I got
like that group between the bye weeks. They'll be favored in all 4 of those games.
I have them dropping 1 somewhere in there though. So if we're kind of, skipping ahead to their next bye with 3 games to go, I have them at 7-2.
Dude, I got them winning all those.
Okay. I mean, for me, that's already cashing the over ticket. With 3 games left, where are you at now? Are you at 8-1 or are you at 7-2 also?
8-1. Wow. I don't think to me, the San Diego State one strikes the most fear.
Yeah. Well, if that's the case, then the whole state of Wyoming has to be abuzz because especially with Boise coming to them, then they have a very realistic chance. If you're sitting at 8-1 to go to the college football playoff, I mean, they still have to finish out the rest of the season.
Especially with your one loss being in the non-con.
Yeah. I'm going to say they're 7-2 at this point.
I'm going to say the battle of the boot is horribly timed because that Boise game, I wish they could move that, but the rivalry game against Colorado State with the New Mexico game.
But they have the bye before it.
That is true. There's no way they're going to get both.
Now, to be fair, Colorado State has a bye before that game also. I'm going to give Colorado State the win at home.
They're going to go 1-1 in those 2.
I actually, we did the Boise preview a week ago, and I think we actually both agreed that they beat Boise at home. I agree. I have them losing at Colorado State, beating Boise at home, which means I think I have them at 8-3 going into the season finale.
Season finale. There's no Apple Cup this year. Shame on you, Big Ten, and shame on you, Washington, for not playing the end of the season with the Apple Cup. You can do it. The SEC and ACC do it all the time. I got them losing in Pullman, man. That's a tough place to win.
I think so. I had them losing the last one. I've been going 8-4 on the season. 2 of those losses are out of conference though. So if there are 2 losses, I mean, they might be in the Mountain West Championships if they only lose 2 conference games.
That's what makes this thing so interesting is, well, first off, you would have them losing 2 of their final 3. So like the momentum for them to make the 12-team playoff, but at the same time, their strength of schedule, like I have BYU as a bowl team. Now, Arizona State's not going to be a bowl team. I have Washington State as a bowl team. So getting 2 powers, is it enough to say take down an 11-1 Liberty schedule or a 9-10 win App State or a UTSA, Memphis, or an ECU? Yeah, see what I did there. I think it puts them in the mix, man, especially if they get a rematch. Let's say they play Fresno or something, or let's say they play Boise again. They would be, and remember the Mountain West, you host on campus. So they could play Boise again in Laramie.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe Boise's only conference loss is to them, though, so they would have a better conference record. At least if you're going through my wins and losses. So a rematch on the Smurf turf, I think Boise wins that. But either way, Wyoming, if they have the kind of season that I have them at 8-4, you have them at 9-3, right?
Yes. But I would.
Then they would be in the mix.
Well, I would also say they would have the tiebreaker over Boise if they beat them, because Boise,
Right.
Boise has to go. Boise doesn't get Fresno, right?
Right.
Boise's, yeah, but that could be very pivotal. Boise does play at UNLV, but yeah, Boise's schedule's nice too.
Yeah.
That might come down to that game.
Yeah.
Because both would have a one loss within conference. Washington State's not a conference game. So I have them with only one loss in conference. The tiebreaker would be in Wyoming's favor. They would be hosting Boise. I wonder Fresno could also be in the mix too, but
I wasn't quite as bullish. I had them with 2 conference losses, but either way, we are definitely on an over here. And what is it? Plus 100. I mean, the fact that you don't have to lay any juice on the over, that sounds very appealing to me.
Yeah. I don't even know how they're getting 6.5 here. Is that just because the new coach?
New coach, new quarterback. I mean, I think that's part of it.
But he played in a lot of games last year. Like, I understand he only probably started 1 or 2, but he played in a bunch of them. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I love the over here. This is you'll hear this on the August Locks episode.
Yeah, it's definitely under consideration here as well, because obviously if it's 6.5, I have them at 8-4. Even if they drop another one, maybe they lose to Boise also, you're still cashing your ticket. Wyoming football is not going anywhere just because Bohl retired. I do think they're still in good hands. Yes, they need to prove it, but I like them this year. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. Last year we saw in the Mountain West Championship, severe bullshit in my opinion. Like, San Jose State had a direct blowout win at UNLV. I thought it should have been Boise State playing San Jose State. Instead, it was a 3-way tie because they all had the same record. They went with UNLV on some bullshit metrics, but we could have that because I'm looking at Fresno's schedule and we previewed Fresno already. I think Fresno is definitely going to be a 1-loss team. If even, they might be undefeated. And how about that? Boise could get kicked out because Fresno, none of these 3 play each other. Yeah. Fresno, Boise, and Wyoming, none of them play each other. Fresno's toughest games are at UNLV in September, which I like Fresno to win, and at Air Force on November 9th. So let's say they lose. If they just go 1-1 in that stretch, Fresno's schedule is a cakewalk. That Wyoming win could potentially knock them out, but I don't know. They have that weird tiebreaker because we thought San Jose State knocked out UNLV last year. Yeah. So watch them, somehow. Well, I guess Wyoming does play Boise. So I stand corrected on when I say the top 3 don't play each other. Wyoming plays Boise, but none of them play Fresno is my point. Anyway, gotcha. It makes for a very interesting race in November, folks. I love the over. NC Nick loves the over. Give him a follow on Twitter, NC__NICK. Go check out that uniform video he dropped. Top 5 Mountain West uniforms. No, top 5 G5. Oh, okay. Sorry. Air Force and Wyoming were the only 2 in the conference, in the Mountain West Conference, to make it. Yeah, Hawaii. Just, I don't know. Dude, I love the old Hawaii ones with the actual rainbow on there. I love the one they have with the islands on the helmet. That one's cool too. Hawaii is nice, but they wear that a lot. It's tough to pick 5 from all of the G5. That's true. That's true. And so who would you have Hawaii over the 5 I picked? The 5 I picked 5 again? Also App State, Marshall, ECU, Air Force, Wyoming. I have Hawaii over Marshall. I like Marshall's though.
And another one that I think is solid is San Diego State.
Again, I like the older one better with the Aztec.
No, I like this one. I like this one. Yeah,
Their helmets are weird now. Not a big fan.
I love their helmets now. Anyway, folks, check it out. We're breaking down. This concludes the Mountain West, and now we jump over to the Big Ten. So later today or early tomorrow morning, we'll be previewing the Illinois Fighting Illini. But yes, all the SEC and Mountain West team previews are out. Go listen to them. We're breaking down all 134 teams on the college football experience. Give us a follow on Twitter at TCE on SGPN, but more importantly, youtube.com/the college experience. Hop on over there, hit that like and subscribe button. We also have the college basketball experience where Wyoming, Sundance Wicks coming in. I know that's a great hire for them as Linder leaves, but I think that you might be failing upwards there. Blessing in disguise. As Sundance Wicks comes in from a good year at Green Bay. So check out that. But youtube.com/the college experience was the hub for all of that stuff. Mountain West basketball has been fantastic. So check it out. And also check out the Stadium Heads podcast. Myself, Michael Barker we just dropped the Mountain West. We went through every stadium in the Mountain West. We love War Memorial Stadium in Laramie. We broke down the history of it and what makes it so great. Check out the Stadium Heads podcast. Also check out the FCS college football experience. Maybe you want to know about those Idaho Vandals. Well, we got you covered there. Also, check out the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm on Twitter at @TheColbyD. Give me a follow. And looking forward to talking Cowboy football as the season heats up because I love their chances this year. Until next time, folks, this is the college football experience, Wyoming Cowboy style. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And the whole team's looking and the whole world's looking with the cameras. Run and shoot.